welcome to Saturday Morning Retro, Episode 7. Before we start the show, we want to thank all of our wonderful fans who have supported us. And if you want to show support for the Rated G Network, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/RatedG4Gamers. You can also find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Rated G for Gamers. And finally, please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. We appreciate all the love. Before we get into our show, though, we have an awesome giveaway going on right now. We are giving away one copy of Cyberpunk 2077 for the system of your choice, PS4, Xbox One, or PC. To enter, you must be following us on YouTube. You must like this video and drop a comment on what you are looking forward to in Cyberpunk in the comment section below. You can enter once per episode up until the launch of this game. And finally, this giveaway is open to U.S. residents only. And good luck to all who enter. I'm your host, Dave Rotino, and this is my co-host, Dan, the podcaster formerly known as Classic Robinson.
What's going on, man?
Oh, it's good. It's good right now. It's just before Thanksgiving. As we're recording this, episode will come out just after Thanksgiving, just after Black Friday. So wait. So when people hear this, Thanksgiving will be over. Thanksgiving will be done. Black Friday will be done.
Dave, how was your Thanksgiving? Did you get a PS5? Did you get an Xbox?
I don't know. The future has not happened yet, Dan.
Come on, how can you not know? It's Saturday. It's the last Saturday of the month.
It's the magic of computers. You can record ahead of time.
The turkey was good. I got a PS5. I had to fight. It was a journey to get a PS5. I had to fight somebody.
You know.
I was in Target, and some old lady had a PS5, and we almost went to blows, Mortal Kombat style.
Oh boy! See, this is the story I want to hear. Minus you beating up an old lady.
I didn't beat her up.
That's the story I want to hear. I want to hear that we both got PS5s and that you got an Xbox. Yeah, it'd be nice.
She thought it was a Switch, so I told her I'll buy her a Switch if she lets me get the PS5.
Right. So we hope everyone is enjoying their extended vacation. Right. It's been a crazy year. Now we're in the holidays, so however you're celebrating the holiday, hope everyone's having a good time with that. But this is not. We're talking about Xbox and PS5. This is not the. It's not the regular Rated G show. This is the Saturday Morning Retro show. This is the show where we dive into our backlog and talk about all things retro. All right, we take a deep dive, pull some games off the shelves, we talk about them. We throw up some games, we talk about them, we go deep. That's what the show's all about.
And listen, we have a great show this month, right? Like I'm going to talk about playing the original God of War for the first time.
Classic.
And you're going to tell me all about this Final Fantasy game that started it all on the NES.
OG. Numero uno, Final Fantasy 1, all right? The game that kind of kicked off my love of RPGs. It opened my eyes to a world of amazingness.
And my eyes are still closed. Okay.
Hey, you like 7 and 15, all right? So
I do. But
there's some hope.
But as I always like to start the show or a Saturday Morning Retro show, right? This time in gaming history. Mm-hmm. Okay, and this month marks the kickoff for Gen 9. So I thought it'd be fitting that, we talk about and hit the rest in peace to the system that ended Atari, the infamous Atari Jaguar. It was released 27 years ago this month, November 23rd, 1993.
Wow, just yesterday as of this recording. That's crazy. That's crazy. I didn't realize it dropped right before Thanksgiving. The first 64-bit console.
I remember it was 64 bits. I remember the commercials. Can you count?
Yeah,
Other systems have 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit,
64. Which one is more?
Yeah.
They were classic commercials. Yeah. They were classic.
The bit wars were over after that, right?
I mean, I think they went on a little bit further, but yeah, I mean, that was kind of like the high point.
Well, Nintendo was still in the bit wars, right? Because it was the N64, but nobody else was really doing the bits. The Saturn didn't tout how many bits they were, right? The PlayStation
it was a little kind of it was a little kind of put to the side. Dreamcast was 128 bits, but not many people know that.
How many bits? How many bits is the Xbox One X?
Way too many to count.
Like
2 to the 36 power. I don't even know.
2 million 56 bits.
Yeah, we're up to like teraflops now in terms of measuring power. So it's crazy. Yeah, man. Did you ever have a Jaguar? I don't even know. Do you have one back in the
growing up? No, I wanted one. Sure. I wanted to have a game. I wanted to have a game room like that. Like game rooms came from the love of us 90s kids that grew up and got money.
That's
right?
true. It's like, oh, I remember that system and those games. Well, I can just buy them now. and we do. You more than me though. You have a lot of classic consoles, so you own the Jaguar. Do you have the Jaguar CD add-on?
I don't have the Jaguar CD. Those are, I mean, you can buy them, but buying it a working one, because they don't stand the test of time. They break.
Yeah.
So I could have bought one, but it wasn't working, so I decided not to. If I'm gonna spend hundreds of dollars, that thing better work. So I rather spend the $300-400 to get a working one than spend $200 on a broken one.
Yeah, which geez, yeah, that's like crazy. So the Sega CD came out a little bit later, but the core system was kind of cool because it had a 3-button controller with a 9-button pad.
You know what I equate that to?
Yeah.
It had a Genesis controller with a remote control attached.
It did.
That's what
We're not calling it a 12-button controller because it was like a big dial phone pad below the controller. So
it was the first Duke controller.
It was. That thing was huge. And I think you mainly used it for inputting codes. I don't really think you used it in a lot of video games.
That's true. I think about that too.
Yeah, I think maybe that was
it had an overlay. It had an overlay, just like the Vectrex had an overlay, like that. The controller had an overlay, which was weird because why do I want to put an overlay on my controller?
Right.
The thing that I'm going to be touching all the time.
You want to theme it to the game that you're playing, I guess.
That's dumb. I'm sorry. That was a dumb idea.
So there were definitely some notable games that came out for it. Alien versus Predator, right, which was an amazing first-person shooter, right, from a time when first-person shooters really didn't do well on consoles. So that's like kind of notable.
I know. You know why? Because I have Doom on an SNES.
Yeah, that wasn't great. But the Doom version for the Jaguar, they say, has been touted as the best version. Right, it is better than the PC original. It definitely has better graphics. I think it has some more levels in it. And I believe it was coded by John Carmack, one of the original developers of the game. Like he kind of whipped that up, which is part of the reason why it's so good.
That. Wolfenstein was pretty good on there as well, right?
Wolfenstein also, yeah, from the same
and that same
software.
Elk. Mm-hmm. That same elk of Doom.
Also, I think possibly the best version of Wolfenstein 3D too. Beyond that, there was like Tempest 2000 was pretty good. And then it kind of, we named like 4 big games for the system, but they didn't necessarily have a ton of good exclusives like beyond that. Like Doom necessarily wasn't an exclusive. Alien vs. Predator, I think was. I think the RoboCop game was pretty good. I don't know about you, but I can't necessarily name anything else that was like monumental for the system.
Monumental? No. I can't name anything monumental. I mean, they had a lot of crappy games back in those days.
They did, yeah. And a lot of like cross-compatible games, like Rayman was a game.
That's right. Rayman was on here and on the PlayStation. If you want to get Rayman for the Jaguar, it's not cheap. You're looking at like $90.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, it's a little high.
And that's loose. If you want it in the box, a little bit higher.
And it only lasted a couple of years. I think it maybe lasted till 95. And they stopped making games for it. The Jaguar CD, they tried to put out. I can't even think of any games for the Jaguar CD.
It makes 2 of us.
Yeah. And, it was an add-on, much like the Sega CD was for the Genesis. Atari was like, this is a good idea. Let's go ahead and do this. Even though the Sega CD didn't do well and the 32X didn't do well.
Well, to be fair, before Atari did it, and before Sega did it, TurboGrafx-16 did it.
That's right. The PC
they started the Frankenstein consoles.
That's fair. But the PC Engine had a Rondo of Blood, which is fantastic. Possibly
they had Rondo of Blood.
Game.
They had the original Street Fighter.
Oh, that's right.
The crappy one.
That's
right.
It
was a CD.
Oof.
So I know. So all right. Speaking of just crappy old school games that we usually pick up. Did you get any good pickups this month?
Wow, that was an odd segue. Okay, I did actually get some good pickups in this case.
Well, if you want me to tie it in, I almost bought a Atari Jaguar game, but I got outbidded by like $3.
Oh Jesus! Probably for the best. Yeah. I think I kind of.
No, I was trying to get Tempest. Game. I don't have it.
Tempest 2000 is very good. They're up to like I think 4,000 now. They just keep upping it by 1,000. They every like couple of years they'll like put out a new version of it. Yeah, I think I talked about it on the regular show that just dropped yesterday. Because I went to a Goodwill and it was probably the biggest amount of games that I saw at a Goodwill for New York. No. I think like in general. I think ever.
Wow.
Yeah, because we are both from New York, and New York is a hotbed of collectors. A lot of people want to pick these games up. The games are not cheap. You know, typically they're like at least $4 to $5 at your local Goodwill or Salvation Army. So you're not going to get them for like 50 cents a buck, right? It's very hard. And a lot of the games, well, they aren't even in there. You get the case, and that's it. Or you get a crack case. You get one of the discs for Modern Warfare, and that's it. It's a crapshoot. So I went all the way uptown last weekend, like way uptown to like the top, all the way up in like Harlem. And I found a Goodwill that had a ton of games. They were all commons and all that, right? But it was like, ooh, ton of games. So I reorganized the whole entire shelf. I alphabetized it. I categorized it. All like 60, 70 games that they had there. I'm like, boom, 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 boom. Picked out the games that I wanted. And some of those games are Mario Kart Wii for the Wii, Dragon Ball Z Budokai 1 and 2 for the PS2.
You know I love Budokai 2.
It's fantastic.
I love that game.
And it was in perfect condition. It was in perfect condition. Like it had the shiny foil cover. It was all good. The disc was in good shape. And Madden 2003 for PS2 and Monopoly Streets for the Wii, which is a little bit uncommon. I was surprised at the price. So
didn't even know there was a Monopoly Streets. Is it like NBA Streets? Is it like NFL Streets?
No.
Monopoly over the top Monopoly with fire.
There was no windmill jabs. No.
Okay.
There is no windmill jabs. So that's just a small amount of the pickups. They didn't get a lot from last month necessarily, but those are some of the standouts. So, how about you?
So I went a little crazy on my post Thanksgiving pickups from eBay, Lukey, you name it. Just wherever I can find games.
Right.
So
them up.
It recently came to my attention that I didn't have Def Jam Fight for New York, which is a game that's gotten up there in price. If you want to buy it on Lukey, the PS2 version is in the 300s, which is weird.
Complete, $300.
Complete. And the Xbox version is like almost 200. So of course I had to combine them. So I got the Xbox case for a good price, and I got the game by itself for a good price, and I put them together. Now I have a complete one for Xbox, for the original Xbox. I had
that for the OG Xbox, and I lost it. I would have never thought that game would be so much money.
Well, it came out in 2004, and remember that was a year before the 360 came out, so it was like sort of the swan song for the original Xbox.
Sure, yeah,
until
but
the 360 came out.
It was a very good game. It's fantastic.
So I got that. I got Rocky Legend. I saw, I have Rocky Balboa, but that was the 2006 game. So the Rocky Legends predates that. So I got that on the Xbox.
Nice.
I got Dr. Muto. All right. Like we had a special guest on, what, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Retro Wolf 88.
Big shout out to him. I mean, he did a whole breakdown of this game on the GameCube. I got the Xbox version. I got that for a good price. I got Hitman Blood Money. That's the third Hitman game that came out. So now I have the original. I got the original Hitman on the PS2. Well, this is how I like to do things. I like to have it for the different systems that came out at the time. So I have the original Hitman for PS2. I have Hitman 2 for the GameCube. And now I have the third Hitman for the Xbox.
Nice.
So, and I used some of my Lukey points to get a couple of free games. I already had these games for other systems, but I have all these points and I haven't put anything good up, so I had to pick it up. Right? Like I got Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 for the Wii, Dirt 2 for the Wii.
Oh shit!
Finally, my Panzer Dragoon Limited Run Edition came in. That actually came in yesterday. So can't wait to dive into that.
That's the classic Saturn game remade or ported to the Switch.
Correct. I think actually no, it's not a port. I think it's a remake. Or remastered. It's a remaster.
Okay, yeah, it's got a little bit of shine to it. Okay, nice.
Definitely. Need for Speed 2. I thought I have most of the Need for Speed games, especially the original. I have the original Need for Speed long box for the 3DO.
Right.
And I had Need for Speed 3, and I like to have the complete series. So I realized I didn't have the Need for Speed 2, so I had to pick that up.
The OG Need for Speed was Road and Track. That was they had an integration with Road and Track on there, which was weird. And I think the 3DO version has like a weird dude that you're racing against. Like they pitch you against like an actual driver. So they have these really cheesy cutscenes in there.
Well, that's what made games back in those days. That was the whole reason. Like, full motion cutscenes. That was like our thing in the 90s. Like, oh, wow, it was like a movie in the video game.
I was impressed. It was all the rage. I couldn't believe it.
So I did say I've been playing Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, so I picked that up when it came out. I got that half off because I had GameStop points. You see a theme. Use your points, people. Okay, that's a little collector's tip. You can get free games if you buy stuff where they give you can collect points,
right? And
you can just redeem those points for free games or discounts. Now, I got to give you a big shout out because I didn't know this game existed.
You're welcome, Dan. You're welcome, Dan.
We were talking about this game for GameCube, Odama, which is a pinball game. And when you said pinball game, I was like, pinball game? I don't play pinball games. I'd rather just play pinball if that's the case. And you said it was something totally weird, totally different. It had a mic to it that came with it.
Yep.
And I got it on Lukey. They said they didn't say it was, because in Lukey it doesn't tell you if it's like in box, because it has a special box. It's not an actual cardboard box. So it just said mic in game. So I was like, oh, okay. I figured the mic would come separate. It came in the whole box.
Nice.
It actually came with the cardboard box.
Nice.
So
good deal.
I give that up to you because I didn't even know that game existed.
Yeah.
Still slowly but surely building a Dreamcast collection. So I got Donald Duck going quackers. All right. So I got that for the Dreamcast. And I did get...
Oh, it's Quackshot is the Genesis one. Okay.
Quackshot is the Genesis one. But I did get Def Jam Fight for New York, The Takeover, which was the PSP version, which is also up there in price. I don't have it in complete inbox. I just have the game. Because it was just, again, the cheap version, right? The less expensive version. If you want it in box, it's going to cost you in the high, hundreds.
Okay.
Well, almost $200, right?
Yeah.
Spent less than $100 just for it by itself.
Nice.
So, and I thought this was a gross injustice in my collection. I didn't have Uncanny X-Men, a terrible NES game. Didn't have that. I thought I had it. But I don't have.
I know Uncanny X-Men. Yeah, it's trash. It's an LJN classic.
Terrible. That game is terrible. I thought I had it, so I had to get it. It was an NES game.
I bought that game brand new Because my neighbors down the street are like, you should get this X-Men game because X-Men is cool. And I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't look good. And it's like, no, you got to get it. And I got it, and it was terrible.
So
it was only like $20, but still.
Well, yeah, it's less than $20.
Oh, I know. You could probably get a complete in box for like $5.
Oh man, I wish. No, well, I definitely paid a little bit more than $5, but less than 10 for it. But I did go to the office. I go to the office once a week in the city, and I told you, a couple of blocks away from the Nintendo store is sort of like a cleaner Goodwill, if I could say that. Like, you know, because a lot of Goodwills, Salvation Armies mostly are just like dirty. They at least they look dirty, feel dirty. Goodwill cleaner than Salvation Army, but still feels a little dirty. Mm-hmm. This is like a secondhand store, a bigger secondhand store. They sell anything that you want. You want movies, you want music, you want electronics, all used. Right?
Is that where you got the Master System games? Way back when? Was that place? Or
no. I got the Master System games. Wow, you're talking about like 2 years ago. Not more,
throwback. Maybe more than 2 years. Listen. Yeah, we're on the throwback show. What better a time? I thought that was that place. No.
I got the Master System games. I actually got it from the Salvation Army.
Okay.
And I asked him, I said, do you have any, because I looked around and I said, I didn't see any games. I asked him, do you have any games? He said, yeah, I got some in-box Atari games. Some guy said he wanted it. He's coming back for it. And I was just like, but I'll sell it to you. And I was like, okay, sure. And he brings them to me. Mm-hmm. And I think it was like 4 or 5 in-box Master System games. So he has no idea. It's like, these aren't Atari. These are Master System games. And he was like, Alex Kidd. It was like Alex Kidd collection of games. So I said, sure. How much? And he's like, oh yeah, I think it's like $2 a piece.
Yep.
Nice.
There you go.
Because the Kidd games cost like $80 in box, complete in box. Mm-hmm. And I knew whoever owned these games were fans of these games because inside the case definitely had codes, strategies that some kid wrote.
Oh, you got little Timmy's crib sheet.
Yes.
Got all the secrets and the passwords. Yep. That's awesome.
But no, this is not. That was the actual Salvation Army. This is sort of like a secondhand store that sells anything used. Right. Mm-hmm. A lot of people come and donate and they buy it cheap. And, you know, like, I'm sure they buy like a bunch of monitors and see if they can get it working and then resell them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so you can get anything you want: monitors, stereos, and video games. They have a whole aisle full of video games, and they have imports from Japan too. Really? So they have a lot of Japanese games. Mm-hmm. So I always go in just to take a look at stuff. I got Hello Kitty Cruiser for the Wii U. That game is expensive. Well, it's really getting up there in price. It's like $100. Mm-hmm. And they had it for $28, complete in box. So I had to pick that up. Terrible game, but you know, it's a Wii U game. You know I love Wii U.
Hey man, I support the hustle. Wow, that's crazy.
I got Total Overdose.
Yeah.
For the Xbox. Mm-hmm. It had a bonus. It had a Tomb Raider. It had a bonus DVD of Lara Croft's Tomb Raider inside. Mm-hmm. I got that bonus disc. It's in there.
Nice.
Okay. And I picked up Onimusha. It was another Onimusha game. I don't have it in front of me. I forgot the name. It wasn't Onimusha 1, 2, or 3, or the Onimusha Warriors.
The fighting one? Warlords? I think it was
Warlords. No, it wasn't that. It was another Onimusha game.
Was it Genma Onimusha? Because that was the one. That was the remake.
I think that's for Xbox.
That was the remake for the original.
No. This was on this is for the PS2. There were 5 Onimusha games on the PS2, and the one I got, I can't think of the name off the top of my head. 1, 2, 3
Warlords, and okay, yeah, I can't either. But that's the one you picked up.
Yeah, it was that. Well, that's the one I got. That's the one I picked up, and. I think it was. Hold on. You know what? Now that's bothering me. I got to know which Onimusha game this was, because there's 5 of them. It's Onimusha Warlords, Onimusha 2 Samurai's Destiny, Onimusha 3 Demon Siege, Onimusha Blade Warriors is what you were thinking about. That's the fighting game. And Onimusha Dawn of Dreams.
Dawn of Dreams.
That's the one I got.
Wow.
So,
Is that like the standard ones or?
I don't know. I don't know too much about that game.
Adventure, yeah. Interesting. I think it is. They're actually calling it a canonical, the fourth game in the canonical main series. Huh. Well, there you go. I didn't know that came out. I have all of them but that.
Well, me too. I didn't know that came out either. I totally forgot about that. I saw that. I was like, what game is this? And they had it for a good price because it ain't cheap online, I tell you that.
Nice.
And then they teased me because they had a game called Black and Bruised, which is like a boxing game that came out for the Xbox,
it's
PS2.
terrible.
I didn't know about this game.
It was essentially Punch Out. It was a new version of Punch Out, but just not as good.
They had it for a really good price, and the lady, because what they do is the games. See, this isn't Goodwill. The game isn't in the case. The case has a number on it, and the number will tell them where to get the game from on the shelf behind the counter.
That's smart, so you can't steal it.
So you can't steal it. So she came back with It's funny. She came back with a PSP game, and she said, "I don't think this goes to this." So they didn't have the game. Right. They don't know where it is, and they let me take the case for free.
Oh, all right. Not bad. Not bad.
So I went out, and I bought the game loose for cheap. Bought the
game loose. There you go.
And now I have it complete, baby.
Okay. I can tell you right now, don't even bother playing that game. Just play Punch Out on the Wii. It's much better. But it is exactly that, like right down to the stereotypical fighters.
Well, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Looks cool. I'm sure it sucks, but yeah.
You got to give it a spin, but it's not a great experience.
I know, but I got Hello Kitty Cruisers for $30. I gotta, if I'm gonna play that, I gotta play Black and Bruised.
Sure. You gotta give them at least one. You gotta give them at least one spin.
All right, man. So before we take a break, let's get in our Triple R segment: remaster, remake, or recycle. All right, this is where we take a game that's, a franchise that's somewhat dormant, or maybe it's not dormant. It's a franchise from the past that we want to know: do we want a remaster of that game right now? Do we want a remake of that game, like in the style of Resident Evil 2, or do we just want to recycle an idea that that game had and do something brand new? So, Dave, this month, what game would you give the Triple R treatment to?
So I got a good one. I got a real good one. The Mad Max franchise, right? To commemorate, I believe it came out around the same time as the new movie, which is phenomenal, by the way, Mad Max Fury Road. This game I don't think was necessarily tied into that, but it was tied into the phenomenon of Mad Max coming back after all these years, right? Because I think Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome was like 84, 85 maybe? So it's been a long damn time. They got the original director back to do the movie. Movie was amazing. The game that came out was like, okay. It was like a 5 or a 6.
It had good like racing car. It was the opposite of the Batman game, right? The last Arkham Batman game, where using the Batmobile was a chore. In this game, whenever you had to do anything in the car, it was like you looked forward to it. You hated the open world part, but you loved getting in the car and doing the races and chasing people down and doing the car battles.
That's exactly what I want to do. I want to recycle Mad Max. I want to take out all the extra cruft, all the fetch quests and the side missions and the close combat and all that. You don't need it. The best thing about the franchise to me is the cars. The giant hulking tank-like structures and the dune buggies and the old like sports cars that they just like are rusted out and they just outfit with like spikes and tank treads and like cow pushers on there and giant spears. Turn it into a car combat game. All right.
So basically you want Twisted Metal with the Mad Max skin on it.
No, not quite. Not quite. Sort of, yes. Because Twisted Metal's a little more like open worldy, where you just kind of like go head to head. I want like a Wipeout situation, but post-apocalyptic, right? So you're doing the race, and the idea is to get to the end of the race, but you can also blow up your competition, right? So I want to be able to like trick out cars. You know, you can put guys up in turrets or whatever. You can like armor up the car, and it'll change like the physics of it. I want that in like a bunch of different tracks all around the post-apocalyptic desert. And that's it. I mean, I feel like it would do really well. And that's what I thought Mad Max was going to be. I'm like, they really dropped the ball on this. So I feel like it would do well.
Some people say that game was a hidden gem for the generation.
I mean, sure.
It was underrated.
Sure. It had so much potential, but I think to strip it down to its essentials.
The problem that game had is it came out like a week before Metal Gear. Metal Gear like 5, 6.
Yeah, Metal Gear 5. Yeah, Phantom Pain.
It came out right like around that time, and they just got like stomped out.
That
was like 20. That was 2015. That was 2015.
Yeah.
Well, my triple R is sort of. I'm still in a Halloween kick. Okay, I'm still in a horror.
It just happened.
Kick.
I mean, it was only a couple weeks ago.
Well, you know what? Thanksgiving, I can equate Splatterhouse to Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. You spend, you get together in a haunted house, you have dinner, kill some ghosts, kill some monsters, smack people with a 2x4.
You got some weird family traditions, Dan.
I mean, hey, look, it's sometimes you got to smack a family member with a 2x4 when they start acting up or take the turkey.
I understand.
Or maybe you got to smack the turkey because it gets up and walks away. I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna go with the original Splatterhouse.
The OG, okay? Yeah. The
one that came on a
16, yeah.
TurboGrafx-16. I don't want to. They already recycled it, right? They sort of a first-person action adventure game that didn't do so well on a 360 and PS3.
Yeah, it was okay in like the late 2000s, I think. Yeah.
I'm gonna say I want a remake.
Mm-hmm.
Just remake the original game.
Mm-hmm.
Still, I want it to be a side scroller, right? Side scrolling action game. Don't make it balls hard, right? I don't need a Dark Souls side scroller game. Mm-hmm. Right? We just give me remade graphics. Hit it with the Mega Man 11 treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Make it look better, make it look good, make the gameplay fair, and maybe you can upgrade, add some new levels,
mm-hmm.
and flush out the story a little bit more.
Sure.
I don't know if you can have the Jason mask because obviously
copyright, right? And
copyright,
a little bit of trouble, right.
But that I understand. That part right. I can forgive.
Right. You just got to alter it enough to not get sued. I think that's the trick.
And then that works for me. I would love to play the original Splatterhouse game. Bring it back.
Yeah.
Bring it back. That's what I want.
I'd be 100% about this. Put it out like September, right? So you cash in on the whole Halloween thing, right? Get some extra sales from it.
And you can put it out on the Switch too. This is a game that could be on the Switch, PS5, or the Xbox Series X.
100%, yeah.
All right, why don't we take a break? When we come back, we're going to do a deep dive into our backlog and talk about God of War and Final Fantasy for the NES. And we're back. All right, so let's do a deep dive into our backlog. Let's talk about Final Fantasy for the NES, and let's talk about God of War, the original God of War, 2005. So I play God of War. This is the first time I've played the original God of War.
Oh, you did say that before, and I was like, you never played the original God of War before?
So, all right, context.
Sony.
I played maybe 10 minutes of the original God of War at some point when we first started the show, and I didn't really take it seriously. I didn't play it to play it. I played it because I was testing out the PS2 that I got.
Okay.
So I wasn't playing it to really play it.
All
Okay, so this
right.
is the first time I've really sat down and played the original God of War. I just wanted to see, Kratos's origin. Well, this is not an origin story, but I wanted to see what started it all, right?
Mhm.
So this game originally came out March 22nd, 2005, which was late in the PS2's life cycle. So let's keep
Right.
this in mind. The God of War series originated on the PS2, but it was late in the life cycle of PS2 because the PS3 came out in 2006.
Yeah. 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 They made
Right.
they squeaked out 2 before the PS3 came out. Right. I think
No,
2.
so no. So the original God of War came out March 22nd, 2005. The God of War 2 came out in 2007 when the
Oh,
PS3 was already
It
out.
was post PS3. Right. Interesting.
And then the third one came out on the PS3 in
Right.
2010.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then obviously that one got a remaster for the
PS4.
PlayStation 4. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Sony, it was a Sony Santa Monica's, well, funny enough, we talked about it on a regular show. Alana Pierce, congratulations. She now works at Sony Santa Monica as a
Yep.
writer.
Yep. So
So
she's probably going to be working on God of War in some capacity.
who knows? Yeah, that'd be,
Mm-hmm.
Well, God of War Ragnarok is probably already done. Maybe a little rewrites and stuff. She'll be involved in
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So Sony published it. Again, it originally came out on the PS2. It's at its core an action adventure game. I played, for the purposes of the show, I played the Vita version because it did come out. A God of War collection came out on the Vita, and then came out the God of War 1 and God of War 2 were in the collection.
Wow. I did not know that there was a Vita version of it. That's crazy. That's
So
crazy.
the visuals are going to be the visuals aren't going to be as great if I play this on I would honestly say even a PS2 or it's actually I can play it on a PS3, I can play it on PS4 because it's in the store,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's on PlayStation now if you want to play the original God of War,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks better. And I've actually looked up some video. It looks way better on those consoles. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, think of all the games that came out on a PS4 or the Xbox One, and then get ported to the Switch, right? With the visual downgrade. That's essentially what this is.
I understand. But you get the added benefit of playing on the go.
I get the added benefit of playing on the go. It took them 3 years to develop this game. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this game began development back in 2002 under
Right.
the working title Dark Odyssey.
Interesting.
Right, so that's kind of weird. That's actually
A little
wasn't there
bit
a
of
Dark
trivia there.
Odyssey? Wasn't there a Dark Odyssey game that
There
came
was
out?
a Dark Cloud. There
I
was
know
a
Dark
Lost
Cloud for
Odyssey.
PS2.
There was Lost Odyssey for Xbox 360.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember
Mm-hmm.
that. Game director and creator David Jaffe.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know David Jaffe, big, Sony. He's Sony. I don't know if he's a Sony lifer, but he did work on the Twisted Metal series,
Yeah, the iconic Twisted Metal series,
which
right?
we
The
talked
first
about
couple
earlier in
ones.
the show. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we talked a little bit. I mentioned Twisted Metal earlier in the show. Uh, so I God of War is something that that's a sort of a game for me, right? Like it's sort of like a single player, third person hack and slasher puzzle platform and action adventure game,
Mm-hmm.
right? All in one.
Mm-hmm.
That's for me, right? Devil May Cry, Bayonetta. I love Bayonetta,
Sure.
for those
Sure.
reasons. So they took, I mean, this obviously predates their Bayonetta, but they took some elements from Devil May Cry when they made this game, right? So I love that style of game. The story, obviously, it's an iconic story of Kratos, right? In Greek mythology. Uh, he was again playing God of War 2008, where he's more like sympathetic and he's down to earth. Here, he's just a raging filled, want to fight and kill everything.
Yeah. He was like testosterone alpha male to the max in the first couple of games. Yeah.
You
Very
don't
different than how he is now.
When you're playing it. I mean, he wants to kill Ares because he's been a slave, a warlord for like their champion, the god's champion. When
Mm-hmm.
he does whatever they want him to do, and he's suffering.
Well, he
He's been
asked for
doing.
immortality, right? That's the intro sequence. He goes, "Give me immortal life," and they say, "Okay, we're gonna bind these chains to your hands, and you have to do this for eternity." And
Well,
then
we didn't.
after a while, he's like, "Nah, I don't want to do this anymore."
Well, think of the Scorpion King, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the
Oh
Scorpion King with the
God.
Rock.
Oh
Think
God,
of the
no.
Scorpion King with
That
the Rock.
horrible CG in the Mummy 2 where he comes like poking his head out.
Yeah, well, let's forget that part, but
Uh-huh.
the Scorpion King wanted
The
to defeat
movie.
he wanted to defeat the army, and he
Mm-hmm.
asked for immortality, and he got
Mm-hmm.
it. But what he didn't
Mm-hmm.
know is he would be in servitude of the gods.
Right. Right.
In that case, Egyptian gods, but now we're talking about Greek gods. So
Right. Right.
gods all around are just cruel. You want
Right.
immortality, you got to serve him for life.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know what happened to his family, right? That's the sort of the underlining story, right? The secondary story. We don't know the tragedy that happened to his family. We just know
Mm-hmm.
he's this crazy brute, go in and kill everything, right? So uh big set pieces. I mean, I think that's the thing that really set God of War apart from a lot of other games. Like it had like
Mm-hmm.
big set pieces. The monsters are really big and complicated to beat, or interesting ways that you have to beat them. I mean, the first monster you play, you got to beat. It's sort of that uh oh, it's like the Kraken, right? I think it was what was it called?
Hydra, I think. I think it's the
Hydra. There we go.
three-headed, yeah, the Hydra, yeah.
The three-headed Hydra, and you gotta
Mm-hmm.
like take the two smaller heads and spike them down into the wreckage of the ship just to
Mm-hmm.
get to the big head. That those fight scenes, those boss battles are amazing, and I think that's sort of been a staple in all the other God of War games.
Yeah, it's like
So
an 11 out of the gate, right? They put you on this rocking ship in the middle of like this giant storm, and they're like, "Here you go," and I was like, "Okay, this is level 1," and it only goes up from there.
I want to say
Crazy.
the puzzles aren't too difficult, right? I mean,
Mhm.
they're pretty simple, straightforward.
Yeah.
I got caught in one puzzle, but that was my fault. I definitely I could have solved that easy if I was paying more attention.
Mhm.
If I wasn't
You
playing
missed
it
something? Yeah.
if I wasn't playing it handheld, I probably would have caught on a little bit quicker if I was
Yeah.
playing it on TV.
Well, how is the handheld experience different from the console experience, or is there any?
Well, one again, you don't see the whole picture because it's
Mhm.
in a condensed screen,
Mhm.
right? So I didn't know all I had to do was walk forward. I thought I had to traverse back and find, I got this new weapon. I thought I had to traverse back and use it somewhere like a
Mhm.
Metroidvania. I didn't know I could just go forward past this lady's head and keep going, and that's where I needed to go.
I see.
But I will say this: the Vita version does make use, because remember, I think this came out sort of, if it wasn't a launch window, it definitely came out early on in the Vita's life cycle because they utilized the back touchpad of the Vita.
Oh yeah, right. It's like that, Uncharted, and Tearaway, like the
Yeah.
3 games that used it, and like nobody else.
So, but they used it in an interesting way.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a burden like the touchscreens and Uncharted. Uncharted touchscreens were everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they made the game with that in mind, right? I would assume, because that's the Golden Abyss game was made for the Vita.
Mm-hmm.
Here, you use the touchpad. You just got to touch it really to grab a hold of something.
Okay.
So if you want to open the chest to get power ups and energy and stuff like that, you just touch the bag and it'll open up the chest for you.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Or if you want to move stuff around, you have to hold the back
Mm-hmm.
to grab it, because the back button essentially is just to grab something.
They do anything interesting with like the QTEs and whatnot? Is there any like touchpad stuff on there, or is it still all the button presses?
And it's all the button presses.
Okay. Okay. I thought that would
So
be like kind of neat. Maybe if you have to like do a symbol on like the back touchpad to like I don't know, rip open the Cyclops' head or something. I don't know. I don't know if that'd be too much or not, but
I think
feel
that'd
like
be
it'd
too
be
much.
kind of neat.
People already annoyed at Golden Abyss, where you had this. It uses the back touch and the front, right? Where you have
Oh.
to swipe to clear stuff. Well, I thought swiping to clear stuff off the medallions during
Mm-hmm.
when you find like an item, I thought that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
But like using it for in-game stuff,
Yeah.
like swiping up to duck and all that stuff, I think that was just stupid.
Too much. Yeah. Yeah. All
Way
right.
too much. Does this game hold up? I would say if you love this style of games, if you love Devil May Cry and Bayonetta, and if you played the couple of God of War, the God of War game that recently came out, yeah, definitely, 100%. I would, this game is only 5 hours long. It's not that long,
Right.
right? Um, I definitely want to go back and play this game on console, just so I can get a feel for like the set pieces, like because I know it'll look a lot better on TV.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I played this when it came out on the PS2, and I had a nice. It wasn't quite 480p, but it did have component hookups on there, so everything was like super crisp. And yeah. I mean, I can tell you that game had amazing visuals for its time, like just
nice.
kind of mind blowing. So,
awesome. I mean, again, I was excited to play it just because I wanted to see the first game, where Kratos came from.
Right. The whole like start of it all. Yeah.
I just wanted to see the start of it all.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really have a lot of negatives on this game, I gotta say. Like, I didn't really care about the combos. And if you put the game on easy, it's not. Again, if you put it on hard, it's just balls hard. But if you put it on easy, you can get through it, especially if you're playing it for story elements, like I am.
Mm-hmm.
This game actually is, I think, it's one of the first games that at least I picked that Metacritic was around, so I could do a review. I could sort of do a review roundup of it.
Right. I'm surprised it's that old.
Well, yeah. Metacritic 2000, I guess. Yeah, 2005. It was around maybe prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, I'm doing a Metacritic score. Everybody played it at the time on PS2. It got a 94 from the critics and an 89 user score.
Wow, 89 from the users. Should be 100. Game is fantastic.
Well, the best score he got was a perfect score, perfect 100 from Game Informer. I think that was Game Informer gave it its first 100.
First 100? They know what's up.
Yeah. The worst score, because I think the worst score is the most interesting scores to talk about, is from the official PlayStation 2 magazine in the UK. They gave it a 60.
60?
Why did they give it a 60? I have no idea, because there's no link to it. I can't find it. I don't think they digitized it. It's really just in a magazine. So if you're in the UK and you have PlayStation 2 magazine with the God of War review, please let us know. Why did they not like the game?
I could suspect that they would say it's a little too repetitive in the action. Even though it's not, like, they break it up pretty nicely.
They break it up nicely, as far as, I know. Like, you have this bit, maybe first 10 minutes of just straight hack and slash, and now you have another 10 minutes of puzzle solving. You got to figure this out, and the puzzle solving, in the mix of puzzle solving, it's platform elements. So they definitely break it up. I don't really have that many negative things to say about this game. In retrospect, this game is pretty damn good. I have to give it. I got to give it a 9.
Nice. I would agree with that, even though I haven't played the game in a while. But yeah, that's solid.
Definitely give this game a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Nice. I love it. Okay, so my game, and I know you're not the craziest Final Fantasy fan. You have dipped in a little bit. You played 7. You played 15 a little bit. I'm very happy for you. This is going back. This is the OG Final Fantasy 1, the game that started it all, from a little-known company at the time called Square. All right, they were Square, and then Squaresoft, and then Square Enix now is the current iteration of that company. But they put out a handful of games before Final Fantasy, like Rad Racer was their game, and Lode Runner was their game, and a handful of other Japanese games before they settled on Final Fantasy, which came out in Japan December 18th, 1987, and in North America 3 years later in May of 1990. It was published by Nintendo. It was released on the NES and the Famicom. It's a JRPG. And what that means is it's an RPG with Japanese sensibilities, I think, is the best way to go about it. Sure, it has some like gameplay elements that are kind of unique to it, but it really has a story and characters and a style that's kind of uniquely Japanese. A lot of characters have spiky hair, which is kind of a big trope, right?
Cloud.
Cloud, Cecil, the fighter from Final Fantasy 1, they all had spiky hair. Most of the main characters did. I played this on the NES emulator, right? I do own this game complete in box, but I didn't want to take it out of the box and ruin the box and all that. So I played in a very faithful, a very good NES emulator on my computer with a 360 control pad that I'm staring at right now. So the experience was mitigated a little bit. I didn't use the very harsh old school Nintendo controller with the hard edges on there. So
oh, you're cheating. You're cheating, Dave.
A little bit. I mean, I have to acknowledge that I used some modern comforts to play this game, which definitely helped over the long sessions. So a little bit of backstory on this is that the legend goes for this particular game is that this was going to be Square's final game because the company wasn't doing that great, right? The games
of all time, this is like it. This is it.
This was going to be it, yeah, because the company wasn't doing well, and they said, okay, we're going to make a big RPG-style game, right? This was going to be their big last hurrah. And it turned out to be such a big success that now they have like a bajillion sequels, right? Like at least 14 official sequels, right? Final Fantasy 15 is the latest. Countless spin-offs, genre. They have racing games, they have fighting games, they have everything Final Fantasy. It's crazy. And it's also interesting too because this game and the original Dragon Warrior were influenced by Western RPGs, right? So games like Ultima and old school Dungeons and Dragons, like the pen and paper game, they were like kind of influenced. So you see some of that in the early RPG games, right? Which then became kind of its own genre and became its own thing, which is like kind of interesting. So in terms of the gameplay, it's pretty standard JRPG fare. You get random enemy battles, right? You upgrade your weapons and your armor as you progress through the game, as you go from town to town. This has a pretty steep grind, right? This is kind of the let's go ahead and pad the game out a little bit. So it's going to take you 5-10 minutes to level up. Yeah, it's one of those.
And guess what? If this was owned by EA, we would have microtransactions in the NES version.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? Yes, if EA could do that back in the day, they would have. They charge you over the Famicom modem. Oh, it's crazy. And then also too like Magic, which is kind of just you can just. I mean, in the like the games now, they want you to use magic all the time. You're shooting out fireballs and lightning bolts and all that. This had like very, very limited magic, right? So you had to like kind of use it sparingly, right? You'd only have like 8 uses of a cure spell, and that would be like a lot. So you had to keep going back to the inn and like getting all your magic points back. So like it's that kind of game, right? It's like super old school. In terms of the story, it's not what the current Final Fantasy games are like, right? They really started to expand out the story as the sequels kept going and the story kept getting bigger and bigger. So you basically make 4 dudes, right? You create a party. There's 6 classes. You can make 4 characters, and you basically have to get the 4 orbs, right? The 4 elemental orbs and bring light back to the world. And that's it, right? They turned him into the crystals in all the subsequent games, but it's the same kind of deal. You fight 4 fiends, earth, fire, water, and wind, and you beat all those, and then you get to the end of the game. You go back in time to fight Chaos before the world went to pot, and you destroyed the thing that destroyed the world. Which is
that's a lot for an NES game.
It is. No, you're right. A lot
for an NES game.
You're right.
I would say this. You saved the princess like early on in the game, right? And then it's like the game begins, and that's
true.
Totally different than how we had games back in the day, like Zelda, Mario. This is the same cartridge that was in that same ilk, but it was different.
Yeah,
because the princess wasn't the end of the game. Princess was the beginning of the game. You saved the princess. Yeah, okay, great. Now you got to save the world. Yeah. What about the world?
So much so like you saved the princess, the king builds you a bridge because he's so like happy that his like daughter's back. And then you see the opening credits when you go over the bridge. Yeah. That was like kind of new, or like the princess was the end of the game. and the princess is now the beginning of the game. So, yeah, I mean, I think they did kind of break ground on that, which was like kind of cool. The graphics and sound are A+ for a Nintendo game, right? Sprites are big enemy sprites. Color palette's great. You know, they use the full length of the NES color palette. There's lots of cool spell effects going on. The music is good, right? I mean, you got the Final Fantasy theme, the prelude, right? The one that's in every single game came from this first game. So you do get that, right? The songs are pretty simple. They're repetitive.
I definitely saw a walkthrough or a review, and they said, yeah, this is a song that's in every game except for 13 and like 8 or whatever. It was like 3 games out of the series that it wasn't in.
They may have missed it in one or two, yeah.
It's in majority of the Final Fantasy.
Most of them have it, yeah. Most of them have it, either in the beginning or somewhere towards the beginning. They have the prelude theme, but it's like classic. It's been made a million times over. So I mean, like beyond that, it's a good adventure. I think you can do it without like a manual, right? I don't think you necessarily need like a walkthrough for it. The translation in the game is actually pretty good. At a time when like the English was pretty common, you got a lot of spelling mistakes and whatnot. They got a really good translation team to do this game, even though there's not like a ton of dialogue, but there are characters that give you like specific clues. You got to go here to get this thing, or, you know, you get the, the ship's in this town over here. And you're like, oh, okay, I know where that is. I go over there and get the ship.
How long would it take you to beat this game?
Ooh, it's probably like maybe a 20 to 30 hour game.
Oh my! Wait.
20 to 30 hours.
An NES game that takes just as long to beat as The Last of Us Part 2.
Yep.
Oh my god!
It's partially because of the grind. There's a heavy grind in the game, right? So you gotta like at the beginning of the game, you have to spend time to get to level 3. To then go and fight the first boss, which you save the princess and bring her back to the castle. And that takes like 20 minutes to a half an hour maybe, especially if you don't know what you're doing, right? It takes time. You cap out on level 30 though, so it's not like too crazy. But yeah, that's like part of it. The other thing that is that kind of makes it long is that there's not a lot of modern conveniences in this game, right? Like, you would expect that if you select an enemy to attack and then that enemy dies, that your character would hone in on the next enemy, right? You would just assume, well, he's going to do the right thing, right, and attack the other guy. That doesn't happen. You whiff. You legit whiff. Like, if you select an enemy and that enemy dies from somebody else, you whiff with that character.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, they were breaking new ground at the time, and they didn't realize, oh yeah, we should probably do this, or oh yeah, this is easy enough to code. Let's go ahead and do that. That didn't come in until like the 3rd or 4th game. They would automatically redirect their attack. So you get a lot of stuff like that. You can only buy one item at a time, which is a problem when you need to buy 99 of potions, right? Because you need potions to get through all the damn dungeons. So you have to sit there and mash the A button, right? And that takes a lot of time in the game. So that's partially why the game is like 20 to 30 hours.
Oh my god.
Yeah. There's like a lot of little quality of life things that they fixed in the subsequent remakes, which made the game much more playable, right? The PlayStation 1 version is fantastic. They balanced a lot of stuff. They fixed a lot of bugs. They upped the graphics to 16-bit, and you can...
Not the Bit Wars. It was a part of the Bit Wars.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
Only if they could have made it 64-bit. It could have been an Atari Jaguar.
All right.
Well, not 60. Oh, wait. How much was the Jaguar?
The Jaguar was 64 bits. That's right.
It was 64-bit. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. So if you're gonna play a version of the game, I would say to play the PS1 version of the game, because it is very faithful to the original, but updated graphics and sound.
Did it come out on the Game Boy Advance too?
Yeah, it did come out on Game Boy Advance. Dawn of Souls, I think they called it, which is 1 and 2. The PS1 version also is 1 and 2, and you can probably get it in other places too. I'm pretty sure it's on the Steam store. You may even be able to get it for current consoles as like an emulated version of the game or whatnot. But yeah, play those over the original, unless you want like the old school authentic experience from way back when. But it's a little painful if you haven't played it before, right? So I went in with like tons of nostalgia, so I knew what I was getting into again. And yeah, I mean, it all kind of checked out. You know, the same game from back in the day. It felt like that game from back in the day. Although I didn't have to blow on the cartridge or anything to get it to work. So, and that's kind of like the high point for me was the nostalgia for it, right? This is the game that kind of like started it all. So that kind of like got me through. The big downside of the game is all the lack of modern conveniences, right? The fact that I can whiff on an enemy, right? The fact that they didn't put that into like 2-3 games later is a big disappointment, right? And it's a little hard. You have to plan your attacks out. And there was no Metacritic back in the day, right? Where your game came out at a time when Metacritic was out for like a year or two, I guess, or maybe even 3 years. All we had was Nintendo Power back in the day, right?
Oh.
But this game was rated on the Nintendo Power Top 100 in, I think, issue 100. They did
1995.
Right, in 1995. They did the top 100 Nintendo games. This came in at 37, which is solid because there was a lot of great games for the NES. 700 something all in total. There was probably maybe 500.
Did you think
the time of this magazine?
Did you think this game scored higher than Mario 3?
Probably not, because Mario 3 is like the best game of all time, Dan. But this would be like a close second. This would be a close second. It's a fantastic. And if you want my personal score, out of 10, I'm going to give it an 8.
That's a solid score.
8 out of 10, yeah. 8 out of 10.
Definitely, you would have scored it almost perfect if it had some modern conveniences.
100%. That's exactly why I took some points off, right? Because the game still holds up, but it's a little bit slow where it doesn't need to be.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Solid score.
Yeah. Had a fun time playing it. I'm sure you had a fun time going back and revisiting or visiting for the first time, I guess, God of War, right?
Oh, God of War was amazing. Like, I love... Listen, I sort of played it backwards, right? Because I beat the God of War 2018. Then I went back and beat God of War Ascension, which was the last God of War before God of War 2018. So now I'm going to sort of pave it for it. I'm going to beat the first 3 games. Nice. So... And then they got the 2 PSP games that came out that were exclusive that you can play on the PS3 because they were remastered for the PS3.
Chains of Olympus, I think, and I can't think of the other one.
That's right. No, definitely Chains of Olympus was one of them. I can't. Yeah, you're right. I can't. Was it Sparta something?
I think it may have been like Sparta something, Sons of Sparta or Golden Sparta or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely want. Here it is. Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta.
Ghost of Sparta, yeah.
Yeah, I knew it was Sparta something.
It's classic. Well, I think that's going to do it. That's episode 7 in the books of Saturday Morning Retro, and I want to thank you guys for sticking with us and listening to the episode and doing all the good stuff that you guys do. If you want to interact with us, and we know that you do, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Rated G for Gamers. You can use your powers of interaction to enter our contest. As we were giving away 1 copy of Cyberpunk 2077, like we said at the top of the show. That game is coming out soon. And you can get a copy for the system of your choice, PS4, Xbox One, or PC. To enter this contest, you must be following us on YouTube. You must like this video and drop a comment on what you were looking forward to in Cyberpunk in the comment section below. Remember, you can enter once per episode up until the launch of this game. And this giveaway is open to U.S. residents only. So good luck to all who enter. And finally, we are part of the Gaming Podcast Alliance. You can check out all of the fine podcasts featured at gamingpodcastalliance.com if you are looking for more gaming goodness. So please listen, like, rate, review, and subscribe. And as always,
keep gaming.